I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like the phrase man up has become some sort of taboo phrase that you can't really say, some sort of politically incorrect phrase. And we've spent years being told to sit with our feelings and process our emotions and the emotionally intelligent man and things like that. Now, just to preface this, I'm a doctor and a clinical psychology master's student, so I obviously believe in processing our emotions, sitting with our feelings, and understanding why we feel what we feel. I think that's very important. But at the same time, I feel like things may have swung way too far in one direction. Because previously it was just basically just manning up, and that was toxic, and I agree that it was toxic. But now it seems like it's just about processing your emotions and some sort of, it's like making your feelings and your emotions the most important thing in life. And I think that's also a bit extreme and can be counterproductive and not very conducive to a happy life and a stable life. So I think two things happen when you begin to really put your feelings on sort of some sort of pedestal, right? I think you begin to, and I have my notes here, I think you begin to fall into this some sort of validation trap where every single thing that happens to you, you feel like you need to have it validated. You need to understand why I'm feeling sad, for example, and someone needs to make me feel better about feeling sad, or maybe I need to make myself feel better about being sad by, I don't know. Some people engage that or tackle that in healthy ways. Some people don't. Some people might, for example, binge eat, and I'm not shaming here. I'm just giving some examples. Some people cope through binge eating, smoking, alcohol, hookups, things like that. So I feel like when you're hyper aware of your emotions and your feelings, you can really begin to give them too much importance, if I can say that. And I'm not saying that they're not important. Obviously, feelings are important and emotions are important, and they should be treated as important things. But what I'm saying is sometimes they can become too important to the point that all that matters is what you feel and what you experience. Everything else doesn't matter, right? Let's say I come back from work or college and I'm feeling a bit tired or I feel a bit sad or down. Someone made fun of me. I don't know, I'm not getting along with my friends. I feel a bit sad. I don't know. Maybe a bit insecure. Something happened, Maybe I'm going through a financial crisis, whatever it is, right? And these emotions, just because I give them too much importance, they begin to weigh so much and they can prevent me from doing my daily routines. Because, you know, sometimes you just have to man up. For example, the gym, right? And I talk about the gym a lot because I'm a power lifter and I love going to the gym. If you keep giving excuses and you keep giving all of these emotions and feelings a lot of weight, trust me, you're not going to go to the gym because every single time, you're going to feel something bad, right? Sometimes you're going to wake up not feeling great, because something bad happened and you keep thinking about it. Maybe you got, I don't know, dumped. Maybe you went through a breakup, whatever it is, you might be feeling down. It's very easy to fall into this trap of validation that I was talking about. And you begin to really, really look for that validation, and you keep self-validating as well, like, oh yeah, I feel sad because this happened and I should give myself some grace and cut myself some slack, and I probably shouldn't go to the gym today because I'm not feeling good, and things like that. You just begin to not really do anything you know actually helpful that would get you out of that slump, right? I think this is problem number one. On the other hand, obviously, if you're always about manning up, you're gonna burn out heavily, and you're gonna face problems that you can't really process. And if you don't process those things, they're just gonna come back and bite you, right? But I'm gonna talk about manning up later and some sort of like the sort of mentality behind that. I think the other problem is not only validation. I think if you go to that extreme, you might always try to look for reasons behind everything. Things happen in life and you begin to like deep those things, and I'm feeling this way because this, thing happened, and you begin to deep it, and you begin to like really get into your head. Essentially, you begin living in your head, and you're not living in reality anymore. There is something nice about that man up concept where you just do rather than think. Because if you keep thinking all the time, you're gonna go crazy, right? Sometimes you just need to do and worry about the consequences later. And I don't mean obviously like stupid things like consequences and like doing something crazy, but I just mean like going to the gym, for example, or just like not procrastinating, getting up and work, um, getting up and working, and yeah. So both have roles in life, and I think both are important. But the point I'm trying to make is both extremes are bad. So just manning up, that sort of like masculine, hyper masculinity, whatever, being a man, like manning up, not worrying about emotions, that's for women, things like that, and just like, I don't know, drink your problems away or some stuff like that. That's obviously very destructive. And if you're not smart enough and you're not emotionally intelligent enough, you might just keep bottling things up and eventually they're going to explode in your face and you're going to go through hell, right? Because you ignored everything. On the other end of the spectrum, just literally like deeping everything and processing every single emotion and trying to like always give yourself grace, and you deserve rest, you deserve everything, you deserve and all of that. Like it can make you soft essentially. I think that's for applies to men and women. It can make you a bit soft and it can make you a bit selfish and a bit self-centered, in my opinion. And this is just my perspective, guys. This is not psychology or anything like that. This is how I see the world and how I approach life. I think there's a fine line. There's a balance there. You can't be this or you can't be that. Like you have to be somewhere in the middle. Sometimes manning up is the card that you can use, and sometimes no. Being a bit more emotionally intelligent and processing your emotions, sitting with your feelings is the card that you have to play, right? I think it goes back to the person's wisdom and the person's experience in life and knowing when this problem, let's say problem X, deserves an actual answer, an actual analysis of the problem and the emotions around it and all of that, or is just something that's a bit superficial and manning up is the answer for it. It's not an easy balance to pull off, I think, but I think it's doable. And I personally think you can't do one or the other. You have to do both, in my opinion. But I don't like how lately just manning up has become some sort of toxic thing to do. Manning up, like it just has a very, very negative connotation. And even in Arabic, we say istirjil. So istirjil means like quite literally become a man. Like istirjil, become a man. I personally like it. I think it applies to a lot of things. And hmm, yeah, I'll actually give a personal like example. When I was younger, I used to lean more towards manning up rather than being like introspective, and I think it worked pretty well, to be honest. Like I've always been an introspective person. I've always liked psychology, mental health, and being compassionate, things like that. I was never that guy who was like, oh, just like, yeah, just man up, just be a man, like don't even think about anything, just do it. I was never that kind of guy. But I've always never been the guy who's like hyper aware of his emotions and just like always trying to feel good and like, be nice to myself all the time and things like that. No. I used to be harsh on myself, and I think it was good. I think I was so this is the balance I'm talking about. And I think I was harsh in a good way. So in a sort of like compassionate, self-compassionate way, in a way. I'm actually reading a book right now about self-compassion by Dr. Kristen Neff. I think I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Dr. Kristen Neff. It's a really good book. I would recommend it. And I think self-compassion isn't just about being nice to yourself. I think it goes beyond that. I think doing what you need for yourself is self-compassion. It's not necessarily just like being that, savior, that caregiver to yourself, just being nice to yourself, like you deserve rest, you deserve love, things like that. I think that can be nice sometimes, but I think manning up is also being kind to yourself. Because if you don't sometimes push yourself to do things despite how you feel, sometimes you're not going to do anything. If you don't do anything, that's not really good or being kind to yourself. So it's like it's quite confusing sometimes, this concept of being kind to yourself and manning up and being introspective and emotionally intelligent. And just going back to my example, actually, and I digressed. I apologize. It worked really well for me. I was really kind of like had that as like some sort of like self tough love, if that makes sense. I was really like tough with myself, and honestly, it worked amazing. Like genuinely, I was achieving well. I was happy. I was confident. Self esteem was good. Everything was good. I was genuinely living the life. But then I went through a few difficult periods in my life, and I started like learning about self compassion and things like that. I was like, I need to be kind to myself. I need to cut myself some slack, and I need to be, kind to myself, nice to myself, all of that. And I think I took it way too far to the point where I actually just became soft. Essentially, I just reached a point where today you're tired. You're still like thinking about that problem, that trauma. So you have to give yourself some grace. You have to relax today. Sleep early. You need to sleep early. If you don't sleep enough, you can't work. Um, I don't know, your body hurts, so you can't go to the gym today. You're a bit sore, so just rest today, go tomorrow. What's gonna happen if you miss one day? Things like that. You just begin to like be kind to yourself, but I don't think it's necessarily kindness. I mean, it's good in a way because you avoid burnout, right? You actually give yourself time to rest and things like that, which was good. But I think it just makes you a bit lazy and a bit sort of like self-centered, I would say. At least that's been my experience with it. It made me not it made me think more rather than do. Like I was just thinking, I was in my head all the time. I was like, I'm not feeling good, I'm feeling bad. It's that problem that happened 4 years ago that I still keep thinking about. And no, it's like trauma, it's deep, it's you have to process it, you have to sit with your emotions. It's well, that's true, but come on, like you do that for 4 years. Like it's not for me at least, it wasn't that big of a deal. Right? It was hard on me, obviously, what happened, but come on, like you should be able to move on. So see, that's what I'm talking about. This is manning up. Like at some point, you just have to man up and be like, just get over it, man. Yeah, but I wouldn't say that to someone else. I would be very compassionate with someone else. I'd be very kind with them, just because I don't know how bad they have it. And I don't know how they usually function, right? And some people might say like, "Oh, but you should treat yourself how you treat others." And you just said just now, "I'll be kind to them." So that means you weren't kind to yourself when you were saying manning up. Not necessarily, because I know myself and I know that manning up for me is being kind to myself sometimes. And this is the argument that I'm giving here. Manning up isn't a toxic thing objectively. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's being kind to yourself. Sometimes it's self-compassionate, in my opinion. Because, if you act with yourself like a mother to her son all the time, you're always nice to yourself and things like that. But where is the father? Because there's always this balance, there's this dynamic where the father is giving like the tough love and the mother is like the comforting parent. At least that's how it is. Um, like that's how you think about like parents, I guess in general. It doesn't really like it's not like that for everyone. Obviously, it wasn't for me for sure. But if you're like the self-compassionate sort of like the motherly figure to yourself, you're losing that fatherly figure for yourself, I guess. You're not really pushing yourself anymore. You're just being a bit lazy. Like at some point, after a problem, after a trauma, at some point, you have to get over it. At some point, you have to just man up and be like, okay, I need to actually get up and do some work. And I need to go to the gym. I need to actually get up from bed and go brush my teeth and take a shower. And if you're like a bit feeling down, a bit depressed, because I've seen people like time and time again, they're just depressed, they're feeling down. I'm always compassionate with them. Some of my friends in the past, like I'm very compassionate with them. I listen to them. I don't tell them anything bad. I'm like always supportive, all that. They just, that's it. They just don't do anything basically. At some point, like you get this urge to just say, like, just man up, just do it. Like, just, you know, I don't know. I feel like there's a balance there. But again, this is just my perspective, guys, and I'm not trying to be dogmatic here or anything like that. I think both are important. It just goes back to your wisdom and your experience as to how to use uh, each one of them, depending on the situation. So yeah, let's not demonize manning up. I think for a man is very important, and for women, to be honest. But I'm a man, so I'm just talking about men here. Let's not demonize the phrase, and let's try and use both depending on the situation. Sometimes manning up, sometimes going through our trauma and solving them and just like processing everything. Especially for deep traumas like childhood trauma, abuse, things like that. You have some, not sometimes, I think you actually have to process those emotions and memories and all that because to actually get through them and get over them. But for like daily things, things that or things that you've been working on for years and you feel like you've kind of like gotten over them, but you're just like stuck in that phase mentally. You have to be like, you know what, just man up and get over it and try to do something. But you wouldn't tell someone man up like right after a trauma, if that makes sense. That would be stupid. So yeah, it's a bit tricky to be honest. And I hope this wasn't just like random talk that wasn't helpful at all. Because in my head it was I wasn't able to articulate it as well as I thought I would. But yeah, I hope it was helpful and thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.